Frank Sinatra, one of the greatest voices in American history, wasn't just known for his iconic music and smooth style. He was also a man of principle, using his platform to take a stand against racism in a time when many chose silence. This is the story of how Sinatra's personal beliefs and actions made him an unlikely but powerful ally in the fight for racial equality. Born in 1915 in Hoboken, New Jersey, Frank Sinatra grew up in an environment that reflected the complex racial dynamics of the time. He was the son of Italian immigrants, and early in his career, he often faced discrimination for his Italian heritage. Sinatra was acutely aware of the prejudices that existed, but it was through his rise to fame that he began to understand the importance of standing up against all forms of injustice, especially racism. Sinatra's own career started in the 1930s, and by the 1940s, he was one of the most beloved crooners in America. But his journey toward activism would take shape gradually, as he began to forge deeper friendships with black musicians and public figures. Sinatra wasn't just singing for the masses, he was learning from them. In the 1940s, Sinatra became deeply involved in the world of jazz, a genre pioneered by black musicians. In fact, some of his closest friends and mentors were jazz legends like Count Basie, Billie Holiday, and Lena Horne. Through these relationships, Sinatra's exposure to the harsh realities of racism deepened. Sinatra famously collaborated with jazz musicians like Basie and Horne. He would frequently perform with integrated bands, a controversial act at the time, when segregation in music was still common. Sinatra had a deep respect for the talent and humanity of these artists, and their influence is evident in his work. It was during these formative years, surrounded by these revolutionary artists, that Sinatra made a key decision. He would not tolerate the racism that plagued the entertainment industry and the world at large. He was willing to use his fame and his voice to challenge that system. By the mid-1950s, Sinatra formed the famous Rat Pack, a group of entertainers that included Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Joey Bishop, and Peter Lawford. Sammy Davis Jr., who was black, was a central member of the group, and his inclusion in the Rat Pack spoke volumes about Sinatra's refusal to abide by the racist norms of the time. One story that epitomizes Sinatra's stance against racism occurred in Las Vegas. In the 1960s, many of the top hotels and casinos in Vegas were still segregated. Black performers were not allowed to stay at the same hotels where they performed, nor could they enter certain venues. But when Sinatra found out that Davis Jr. was being denied a room at one of the hotel casinos, he took action. Sinatra walked into the hotel's management office and famously said, "If Sammy can't stay here, then I'm not staying here either." Sinatra's actions led to an immediate change, and Davis Jr. was granted a room. Sinatra didn't just perform with black artists, he actively fought to ensure they were treated with dignity and respect. Sinatra's support for the civil rights movement was evident beyond his circle of friends. In the 1960s, at the height of the civil rights movement, he used his voice to challenge discrimination and segregation. One of Sinatra's most significant moments came when he publicly supported the 1963 March on Washington, where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech. Sinatra was vocal about his admiration for King and his commitment to racial equality. But Sinatra didn't just talk about it, he actively worked to integrate his performances. When Sinatra performed in the South, he refused to perform in segregated venues. He also insisted on integrated seating at his concerts. This was an act of defiance, as many Southern venues were strictly segregated. Sinatra's stance was clear. He would not perform in a place that discriminated against people based on their race. Another example of Sinatra's anti-racist activism occurred in 1945, when he performed at the Hollywood Bowl. The venue was famous for its beautiful setting, but also for its deep racial divisions. African-American musicians weren't allowed to perform there. Sinatra, known for his star power, worked to change this. When he was scheduled to perform, he made it clear that he wouldn't go on stage unless the event was open to all people, regardless of race. Sinatra's demand led to a landmark moment in the entertainment industry, as the Hollywood Bowl eventually integrated its seating. In 1943, Sinatra had another idea to convey equality through a music video of his own. The idea came in the form of the song "The House I Live In."
What's it all about?
None of your business.
Scared to tell me?
No, I'm not as scared. I'll fight you even.
Not if I can help it. I just want to know why the gang war.
We don't like him. We don't want him in our neighborhood or going to our school. I've been living here as long as you.
What's he got, smallpox or something?
We don't like his religion.
His religion?
Look, mister, he's a dirt...
Now, hold on. I see what you mean. You must be a bunch of those Nazi werewolves I've been reading about.
Mister, are you screwy?
Not me, I'm an American.
Well, what do you think we are?
Nazis?
Don't call me a Nazi. My father's a sergeant in the army. He's been wounded even.
Wounded, huh? Say, I bet he got some of that blood plasma.
His wounded so bad he had to get it 3 times.
Son, anybody in your family ever go to the blood bank?
Sure, my mother and my father both.
Uh-huh. You know what? I bet you maybe his pop's blood helped save your dad's life. That's bad.
What's bad about it?
Well, don't you see? Your father doesn't go to the same church as his father does. That's awful. Do you think maybe if your father knew about it in time, he would rather have died than to take blood from a man of another religion? Would you have wanted him to die? Would your mom want him to die?
No.
Look, fellas, religion makes no difference, except maybe to a Nazi or somebody as stupid. Why, people all over the world worship God in many different ways. God created everybody. He didn't create one people better than another. Your blood's the same as mine. Mine's the same as his. Do you know what this wonderful country is made of? It's made up of 100 different kind of people, and 100 different ways of talking, and 100 different ways of going to church. But they're all American ways. Wouldn't we be silly if we went around hating people because they combed their hair different than ours? Wouldn't we be a lot of dopes? My dad came from Italy, but I'm an American. But should I hate your father because he came from Ireland or France or Russia? Wouldn't I be a first-class fathead? Think about that, fellas. Use your good American heads. Don't let anybody make suckers out of you. Well, gotta go to work.
What do you work?
I sing.
Ah, you're a kid.
Come here. They all stand here, and no hissing allowed.
What is America to me? A name, a map, or a flag I see. A certain word, democracy. What is America to me? A house I live in, a plot of earth, a street, a grocer and a butcher, and the people that I meet, the children in the playground, the faces that I see, all races and religions, that's America to me. The place I work in, the worker at my side, the little town or city where my people lived and died, the howdy and the handshake, the air of feeling free, and the right to speak my mind out, that's America to me. The things I see about me, the big things and the small, the little corner newsstand and the house a mile tall, the wedding and the churchyard, the laughter and the tears, the dream that's been a-growing for 150 years. The town I live in, the street, the house, the room, the pavement of the city, or a garden all in bloom, the church, the school, the clubhouse, the million lights I see, but especially the people. That's America to me.
So long, man.
Bye.
Though the song was originally written during World War II, calling for unity and peace during a time of global conflict, Sinatra's decision to use it in the context of the civil rights movement gave it new life and significance. Sinatra recorded the song at the height of the racial struggles of the 1960s.
I really became conscious of segregation when I got involved in the entertainment business. I found that going through parts of the United States, traveling constantly and doing one-nighters with orchestras that were comprised of musicians, there were a lot of problems. And not only the South, but in some quarters in the border states. And I began to resent it. I think it's vile. I think it's the most indecent way to believe. I think that we're all created equal. It's wrong. It's basically wrong.
Frank Sinatra's support for racial equality wasn't just a matter of principle, it was personal. His friendships with civil rights leaders such as Martin Luther King Jr. and, more privately, with figures like Rosa Parks were key to his journey. Sinatra knew the struggle of Black Americans firsthand through these relationships, and he didn't shy away from publicly stating his solidarity. In 1964, Sinatra met with King during a visit to Chicago, and the two discussed not only the fight for civil rights, but also the larger question of how they could collaborate to influence change. Sinatra later used his platform to speak about the importance of the movement and his belief in racial equality. Frank Sinatra's stance on racism was not without consequence. He faced backlash from some of his peers, particularly in the white entertainment industry, but Sinatra refused to back down. He famously said, "I'm not a black man, but I don't have to be one to know what's right and wrong." His actions echoed through the decades, and his legacy as a fierce ally in the fight against racism lives on today. Though Sinatra is remembered for his timeless music and swagger, his role in fighting for racial equality remains one of his most powerful legacies. In a time when silence was the norm, Frank Sinatra stood up and spoke out.